The job that I'm doing today on my Porsche 911 is an oil change. The car actually takes quite a lot of oil, so I've got two 5 litre containers here with Mobil Super 3000. The original oil was Mobil 1, but as the car's got older, the recommendation is to use a slightly different spec. So I use Mobil 3000 now. And see, I've got a filter here as well. The 911 is probably the easiest car that I've had to change the oil on. Reason being, there are no under trays underneath the engine, so it's literally you're able to just access the drain plug, remove it, and the oil come out. The other benefit is that with the height of the car, although the car is very low, it's the drain plug is right at the bottom of the sump, and if you've got a low tray, as I have here, you can get it straight underneath the car and you don't need to jack the car. The oil filter that I bought is a Marla one, which, as I understand, is the OEM manufacturer. So yeah, previously I've used Bosch, but in this instance the Marla one was what was available. To undo the sump plug, you will need an 8mm Allen key or hex. So I've got this on a ratchet. You can have ones that are non-ratchet, but I find this obviously it's a bit easier because you don't need to constantly turn it around. So yeah, that fits into the sump plug, and you can then undo that, and with the tray underneath you will be able to drain the oil out. When you've released the drain plug, it's a good idea to just loosen the oil filler cap, just to make sure there's no suction vacuum that's stopping any of the oil releasing. So it does take a little while to drain, but eventually you will get to the point where the flow reduces down, as you can see here, and eventually it will stop. You can also see on here there is a crush washer that goes onto it, and I've bought a replacement one of those. It's always a good idea to replace that, obviously, as it does get crushed. To the rear and the right of the sump is the oil filter housing, and there's a tool to be able to remove that. And see the housing there, and the tool is fitted at the minute, so just need to get the ratchet on there and just be able to undo that. You can see there the filter hasn't actually come out, it's still on the car. Which is good, because that will just let it drain. In the kit for the new one, we have a new washer as well. So just going to use a screwdriver and remove. Something I've noticed is that the Marla filter, which is the one on the right here, the centre piece is slightly smaller than the previous Bosch one. So what you may well need to do if you have one like this is you might need to give it a little bit more of a push to actually get it to fit into the housing so it's flush at the top there. If it's not flush, you'll then struggle to actually refit the housing back on the car, which is what I was just having a problem with. But yeah, once the filter is pushed into the housing and is completely flat, then it will work fine. I actually found it was slightly easier to access and get to the filter housing from the right hand side of the car rather than from the back, and that then gives you access just under here to be able to refit it. So refitted the sump plug and refitted the oil filter housing that's just here. So now we're able to top up the oil or refill the oil. So it's just over 8 litres. I'll probably put 8 litres in to start with and then check the level. The oil that I use is Mobil Super 3000, which is 5W40. What I've found is the oil fill pipe is clipped onto the air filter and is quite flat as a result. So to help the actual process of filling, if you lift it up, it actually then drains the oil in much faster. I've put about 7 litres in and just checking the oil dipstick. The oil is right at the bottom level, so it's not even onto this part, so there is some oil showing, but we've still got some way to go. And bear in mind, once the car engine starts up and the oil circulates around, then some of that oil will go into the oil filter, so that level will reduce down again. When you put some oil in, it's a good idea to have a look under the car and just check that there's no leaks coming from the sump plug or from the oil filter housing. There shouldn't be if they've all been done up correctly, but it's always worth checking. As the car starts up, you'll see the oil level gauge there, and ideally you want it to just be below the top, so not right up to the top level.